Live from the KHOU 11 studios and streaming on KHOU 11 Plus. Your news starts now. Good Saturday evening to you. I'm Cheryl Mercedes. We begin with breaking news. People are now cleaning up after a tornado outbreak in Greater Houston. This one right here caught on camera in the Katy area. Danny Thigpen says he was in the Sunterra subdivision that's north of I-10 and west of the Grand Parkway. You can see there that debris flying through the air. Right now at 10, a tree falls on a house in Rankin County as severe storms cross the metro. We'll give you the latest. Plus, trees also topple over onto a highway in Franklin County. We'll take you there.
And the severe weather risk for tonight is thankfully over, but we're getting in lots of damage reports. We'll have the latest on those coming up.
WLBT News starts now with a First Alert Weather Day update.
And we'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first we begin with breaking news tonight.
Jackson's breaking news leader. This is 16 WAPT News, live at 10.
For joining us tonight at 10, I'm Scott Simmons. A strong storm moved through our area this evening and is continuing to move east as we speak. Right now, more than 100,000 people in our state are without power.
We have new information for you.
This is WTHITV.com, the digital service with something for everyone.
We are following breaking news.
The newest information instantly.
We have a tornado watch in effect.
From the Wabash Valley's most trusted source for news, weather, and sports.
One of ISU's most successful coaches has agreed to stick around in Paradise.
And there's so much more. Anytime, anywhere, on all your devices. WTHITV.com. Coverage you can count on.
After operating for more than 4 decades, the Beagle County program is coming to a close.
The Next Step program is getting close to finishing its new housing units.
Officials in Vermilion County are considering action that might block a planned CO2 pipeline project. Thrive has announced its newest groundbreaking ceremony. Local high schoolers have the chance to walk in each other's shoes. Students in Vincennes have a new way to experience technology.
For the most local news, trust News 10. Coverage you can count on.
From London, this is BBC News. A plane carrying 181 people has crashed on landing at Muan Airport in South Korea, killing all but 2 of those on board. 3 people have died off the coast of northern France as they try to cross the channel to the UK. The new pro-Russian president of Georgia has been sworn in, drawing large protests in the capital, Tbilisi. Hello and welcome to BBC News with me, Lukwesa Burak. A period of national mourning has begun in South Korea after a plane carrying 181 people crashed, killing all the passengers on board. Only 2 people, they were flight crew members, survived after the aircraft burst into flames.
Good evening, I'm Phil Lipoff here in New York, and we begin tonight with breaking news. Former President Jimmy Carter, the 39th President of the United States, has died at the age of 100. The former president had several health setbacks, in recent years. And in February last year, the Carter Center announced the former president, after a series of short hospital stays, had decided to end further medical treatments, instead choosing to receive hospice care at home for the remainder of his life.
This is breaking news from Pix 11.
That breaking news, former President Jimmy Carter has died. Thank you for joining us for the Pix 11 News at 5. I'm Kaidi Tong.
I, Jimmy Carter, do solemnly swear.
I, Jimmy Carter, do solemnly swear.
Tonight, former President Jimmy Carter, humanitarian and beloved native son of Georgia, is gone. I'm Tracy Hutchins.
And I'm Rick Fulbaum. Glad you're with us. And Jimmy Carter died this afternoon at his home in Plains, not far from where he was born, where he met his wife of 77 years, Rosalind, and where he lived a life devoted to public service, world peace, and faith.
My name is Jimmy Carter, and I'm running for president.
What a life. Good evening. Thank you for joining us for the special edition of WSB Tonight. I'm George Estevez.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Linda Stouffer. Tonight, we are remembering former President Jimmy Carter and honoring his life of service. Here is the latest right now. We've just learned former President Jimmy Carter's funeral has been scheduled for Thursday, January 9th. It will be a national day of mourning.
Tonight, the nation in mourning after President Jimmy Carter passes away. We're looking back at the life and legacy of the 39th president. And as the tributes to President Carter pour in, events including several here in the DMV are being planned to honor him. What that will mean for you in the coming weeks. Plus, we take a look at the life of service that shaped the man who went from peanut farmer to president. A life of service that started long before he entered politics.
7 News on your side at 11 starts now.
And we begin with the news that has the nation in mourning tonight. Jimmy Carter, the man famously known as a peanut farmer who rose to become president, has died. He was 100 years old. I'm Carl Willis. Thank you for joining us. As Carter reached the century mark, he became the longest living American president. His death comes more than a year after entering hospice care at his home in the small town of Plains, Georgia. That is where he and his wife Rosalind spent most of their lives until she passed away at the age of 96 in November of last year.
11 Alive Morning News starts now.
This morning, the world marks the loss of former President Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter lived a life measured not by words, but by his deeds.
A president remembered not only for his accomplishments in the White House.
That's how President Carter will be remembered, as one of the great American peacemakers.
But for the decades of humanitarian work that followed.
His legacy is what he did after the presidency in building the Carter Center, doing work for Habitat for Humanity, monitoring elections, eradicating disease.
A man of faith and family who cherish his humble beginnings.
A peanut farmer from Plains, Georgia, rising to the ranks of the presidency of the United States, shows us and reminds us that anything is possible in this country.
This morning, a look back at his life and how those here in Georgia are honoring his 100-year legacy.
And good morning to you. We are so glad you are here. I'm Aisha Howard.
And I'm Cheryl Preheim. Really a day of reflection, thinking back on such an incredible life of service. A close friend of the Carters was saying this morning that Jimmy and Rosalind are now reunited once again.
And that's such a beautiful thought there when you look at it that way.
Welcome back now at 4:43. We're following the latest on a traffic fatality, an extensive police situation on Bourbon Street near Iberville, where police are reporting multiple casualties. Here's what we know so far. It happened around 3 a.m. this morning.
WWL Louisiana Morning News begins with breaking news.
6 o'clock on this New Year's Day. Good morning to you. Not a good morning, unfortunately, here in the city of New Orleans, where we're here to report a mass casualty event. The New Orleans Police Department, Louisiana State Police, multiple investigators descended on Bourbon Street, downtown New Orleans.
WBRZ News 2 starts with breaking news.
It did involve a man driving a pickup truck down Bourbon Street at a very fast pace, and it was very intentional behavior.
Multiple people are dead and dozens are injured in what federal authorities are now calling a terror attack on Bourbon Street. We'll bring you up to speed on all of this from New Orleans. Plus, a violent end to 2024 here in Baton Rouge. What we've learned about 2 deadly shootings that happened just hours apart on New Year's Eve.
As we start the new year, temperatures finally returning to where they should be for this time of year, but how long will that last?
Live and local from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, this is WAFB 9 News at noon.
New Year's celebrations in New Orleans turned to tragedy overnight as a driver rammed into a crowd, killing 10 people and injuring dozens more, and what the FBI is now investigating as a possible terrorist attack. Now, special operations teams from the Baton Rouge Police Department are on their way to help authorities there any way they can. That's where we start off here on 9 News at noon. I'm Gabriela Mercurio, filling in for Matt Venezia. Katie Weiss begins our...
It's 6 o'clock. I'm Sophie Ridge. This is the News Hour. The top stories. New Orleans attack. 10 people are killed. At least 35 injured as a pickup truck is driven into crowds of New Year's Day revelers. The suspect who drove this truck named in some reports as Shamsuddin Jabbar.
This perpetrator who went around our barricades in order to conduct this, he was hell-bent on creating the carnage and the damage that he did.
The FBI are investigating it as a possible terror attack, as Donald Trump calls it an act of pure evil. Weather warnings. Floods cause chaos in parts of northwest England, with snow on the way next for some. We found one man trapped in his flat.
And then we looked outside and saw this. And yeah, not the best way to spend New Year's.
Lives lost. The people who died trying to reach the UK, as new figures reveal last year was the deadliest for Channel crossings. Cost of living squeeze as millions face higher energy costs. Analysis by Sky News reveals that household bills could rise by nearly £270 by April. And firing up the new year, we'll bring you the best of the fireworks from around the world. Hello, good evening. The US President-elect Donald Trump has described it as an act of pure evil. Today, people in New Orleans in Louisiana woke up to news of a horrific event that unfolded as people celebrated the new year on the city's streets.
Stay clear from Bourbon Street. And he was very prepared to inflict horrific pain. Bourbon Street will be shut down.
He was hell-bent on creating the carnage and the damage that he did.
These folks right here are going to make sure that justice is served.
You are tuning in at 6:03 p.m. to our live coverage of the Bourbon Street terror attack. I'm Katie Moore.
And I'm Devin Bartolotta. We have been on air since about 4 o'clock this morning covering this horrific tragedy in our city. We know now that there are 15 people who died from this incident and more than 30 who are injured and in the hospital tonight. That includes 2 police officers who were shot by that suspect.
First with breaking news. Fox 5 News starts now.
We continue to track breaking news near the Las Vegas Strip, where a Tesla Cybertruck exploded in front of the Trump Hotel. Authorities are investigating this as a potential act of terror.
The person inside the Tesla was killed. 7 other bystanders were hurt. What we are still learning tonight, the Cybertruck was a rental. It came from Colorado through the Turo app. It arrived in Las Vegas at around 7:30 this morning. It drove up and down the Strip. Then an hour later, it pulled into the Trump Hotel valet and exploded there. Again, we are breaking down all the latest information right here on Fox 5. Authorities are looking at possible ties to the New Orleans incident. Both those vehicles were rented via the Turo app. Metro tells us they do know the identity of the person who rented the Cybertruck. They're not ready to release it yet. Guests staying at the hotel have since been moved to a Resorts World ballroom. 2 of the 7 people injured were treated at UMC and released.
From Fox 8, this is breaking news.
Dramatic witness video shows the frantic moments after a man plowed his truck through Bourbon Street.
Real life horror movie, everything the car is hitting, it's getting thrown.
So I was absolutely shocked. Absolutely shocked.
15 people killed, 35 wounded, 2 police officers hit by gunfire.
He was hell-bent on creating the carnage and the damage that he did.
An ISIS flag flying from the back of the suspect's truck with explosive devices discovered.
We do know that the city of New Orleans was impacted by a terrorist attack.
There are many questions tonight about who else may have aided in this attack as the search for them continues. Our team coverage begins right now.
Right now at 10.
Celebration turned to sorrow on Bourbon Street.
This is like my stomach was turning. Like, I cannot believe something like this would even happen in New Orleans.
15 people killed hours into the new year. Dozens of others hurt in a terrorist attack in the Crescent City. The details we are learning about the suspect, a U.S. citizen with possible ties to ISIS, and the larger shocks he may have been planning. See the impact on locals and tourists as the world grapples with the impact of this latest attack, pushing to move forward.
And for the citizens out there that were thinking, well, man, do I really want to go to the Sugar Bowl tomorrow? I tell you one thing, your governor's going to be there.
Plus, hear the pledges to protect you and your loved ones for Sugar Bowl, Super Bowl, and Mardi Gras. And we dig deeper into other attacks that may be part of a larger conspiracy to terrorize the country, bringing a frightening start to the new year. Learn the ways you can roll up your sleeves and step up to help. Our continuing coverage of the New Year's terror attack starts right now.
Just 24 hours ago, these people were preparing to ring in the new year. Tonight, these are the faces of tragedy. Just 4 of the 15 victims who were killed in today's terrorist attack on Bourbon Street.
A horrific attack in New Orleans leaves at least 10 dead and dozens injured during New Year's celebrations. Officials say the driver acted intentionally, and the FBI is calling it a terror attack. Tonight, we're learning more about a man who died in the incident with Acadiana ties. And an officer-involved shooting in Lafayette leaves several injured. Tonight, we share what we know and how you can help with the investigation. Plus, a special New Year's arrival at Our Lady of Lourdes Women's and Children's Hospital. Tonight, meet Acadiana's first baby of 2025 and the family who call him the perfect way to start the year. Acadiana's News at 10 starts now. Good evening, Acadiana. I'm Christina Mondragon. We begin tonight in Lafayette Parish with heartbreaking news about a former St. Thomas More Catholic High School student who was among the victims of the deadly attack on Bourbon Street in New Orleans. St. Thomas More officials confirmed 28-year-old Tiger Besh, a 2015 graduate, lost his life in the tragedy.
Vegas 34 News at 10 starts now.
And thanks for joining us on Vegas 34 at 10 o'clock tonight. I'm Trisha Keene. We continue to follow that breaking news regarding this Cybertruck explosion.
Also being felt here in the entertainment capital of the world after a Cybertruck explodes outside of Trump International Hotel.
We've learned from mistakes in the past, and we're not going to do that again.
The latest on the investigation and how the 2 deadly incidents could be linked. And Metro Police stretched thin tonight. How a barricade on a local bus came to an end after forcing one of the valley's busiest streets to come to a grinding halt.
News 3 starts now with breaking news.
We knew that we had a much larger event than just a vehicle fire.
A deadly start to the new year after a Cybertruck explodes outside of Trump International Hotel right here in Las Vegas. Meanwhile, terror and heartbreak thousands of miles away in New Orleans after a car barrels into crowds on Bourbon Street.
This is KCAL News, Los Angeles.
Developing news tonight at 11, a terror attack shaking the city of New Orleans to its core.
Bodies all up and down the street. Everybody screaming and hollering.
15 people killed, dozens more injured in one of the deadliest car ramming attacks in U.S. history. The FBI releasing a new photo tonight of the suspect, saying they do not believe he acted alone.
I directed my team to make sure every resource is made available.
Well, meantime, we are learning about some of the victims. One of them, a former college football player visiting over the holidays. And hours after that attack, a Cybertruck filled with fuel and fireworks exploding outside a Las Vegas hotel. Police looking for any possible links between the two tonight. Good evening. Thanks for being with us. I'm Susie Suh in for Pat Harvey. We begin with a live look at a normally bustling Bourbon Street.